Welcome again to Prizefights podcast. I'm Josh. Today we talk about post-fight, Mayweather Cotto and Alvarez Mosley. First, Alvarez Mosley. I won't spend a lot of time on this one. I think we saw what we expected to see. The big thing in this fight was that Shane Mosley had no power at all. And Shane was very slow. He threw a lot of combinations and the pitter-patter stuff up against the ropes, but that stuff was blocked by Alvarez. He had no speed, he had no power, and he took a beating from a very impressive Canelo Alvarez. Canelo is very good. He looked very impressive, but people saw that he fights in spurts, and against the great ones in their prime, you can't do that. Maybe his fighting in spurts was due to his being drained, trying to make weight, as some people suggest. But I think that historically, those who follow Canelo Alvarez more closely than I do say that that's his general tendency to fight in spurts. And I'm saying if you're going to fight a fighter, if you were to fight a Mosley 6-7 years ago with that style, that would not work for you. Also, as someone has pointed out, Alvarez is not ready for Mayweather based on that performance, but there's another sense in which we can say Mayweather's probably not ready for him at 154. I believe Mayweather at 154 against Cotto actually took some weight off after the weigh-in on Friday night and was 147, his typical weight at fight night, while Canelo Alvarez at 154 ballooned up to 167, and that's a 20-pound difference. If Mayweather is going to fight Canelo Alvarez, which Larry Merchant thinks is in the works, he thinks that was the whole point of this May 5th featuring of all four fighters, was to pair them up. I think that he'll want to do that at a lower weight class at 154, or he will want to have a different strategy of putting on weight in his camp, because I don't give him much of a chance taking those hard shots at 167 from basically a super middleweight for 12 rounds. And Shane, thank you for a great career. I've watched a lot of your fights, maybe all of your professional fights. You entertained me, my dad, my brother, who have a tradition of watching boxing fights together. We love you. Thank you for the great career, but please retire. I've never seen you take such a beating. Your face was a mess, and only because you have an ironclad, resilient chin, probably the best in the business pound for pound, did you not go down or get knocked out. At any rate, you've taken too much of a beating, and you've given the fans everything they could want for, and a nice prize fighter to follow through a great career. But it's time to hang up the gloves, my friend. Okay, enough with that fight. Let's get to the big one, Mayweather versus Cotto. And first off, a firm and sincere congratulations to Floyd Mayweather for manning up and fighting your rear end off to win that fight. You are 43-0, and you deserve it. You're a great champion, a true ring king. Now for my opinion on the fight. My scorecard was unusual, I'll admit, but let me say that I had Miguel Cotto winning the fight. I know that's crazy, but here's why. In the early rounds especially, I don't think there was a clear winner. So it depends on, as a judge, what you're looking for. Are you looking for perfect accuracy or aggression? But really, can you tell who lands the clean punches like CompuBox can? You're humans. You're watching the fight from your couch, or maybe from the arena. Or is your fighter bias getting in the way? Again, are you looking for aggression, or are you looking for which fighter looks most frustrated? The fighter that had the most need to speak to the crowd, to appeal to the judges. You get what I'm saying? So before I break down the fight at a high level, recall Pacquiao versus Marquez 3. Now, I'm no Marquez lover. I love his game, but I'm not a fan, a follower. I am a Pacquiao fan. His person appeals to me. His work ethic, his fighting style. So I root for him. I give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess you could say. But I'm also an objective boxing fan, and I have the ability to scores them as I seize them, as it were. And I had Marquez winning all three fights against Pacquiao, and I think his last fight, the third, was his most convincing win. I had him up 3 or 4 rounds. Now, I was looking in that fight for which fighter, in a fight that contained equal aggression and punching and blocking and bloodiness, was in control, who showed no signs of frustration and seemed confident in his game plan, which game plan was never or seldomly thwarted, which fighter had the corresponding confidence of the crowd, and who had to make the least adjustments. Who was that fighter? And why did you give the other guy the close rounds? Cotto was that fighter, and I gave him the close rounds. Marquez was, according to the official Pacquiao-Mayweather sweepstakes narrative, dominated on the CompuBox numbers against Pacquiao, and thus deserving of the victory. Yet I had Marquez winning the fight because of what I saw as a boxing fan. Many of the rounds were boring, but in all rounds you had a fighter who showed frustration and who made adjustments. And you had one who didn't. Am I making sense? Pacquiao had to make adjustments, showed frustration. Marquez didn't. Translate that formula to the Cotto-Mayweather fight and be real with me, okay? I'm not going to make a big deal of Floyd's bloody nose, but I will say that Oscar didn't bloody it like that, yet he earned a scorecard in a performance that was, in my opinion, less aggressive and crowd-pleasing than Cotto's against Mayweather. While I'm not upset or shocked that Floyd won, I was perplexed when Buffer said we had a unanimous decision. I'm not upset that Floyd won. Hear me out. And I'll explain why in a minute. But I am upset that it was as wide as all three judges had it. Now, apparently I'm not alone on this. ESPN and the Associated Press had it 116-112, meaning that if Miguel would have taken the final rounds, we'd have ourselves a draw. Now, frankly, I more than sympathize with that scorecard. One writer I follow, who writes for the Queensberry Rules blog, Tim Starks, had it a draw. And he's a boxing fan, not a Cotto bandwagoner or a Floyd hater. He's a boxing fan. I have no problem with that scorecard. I'm also no Bob Arum fan. On my site, you'll see a post entitled, "This Just In, Bob Arum is Greedy." And I'm not a fan of him as a person. I don't like his matchmaking abilities. I think he's greedy. Yet, I agree, maybe more than agree, with his scorecard. He had Cotto up a round before Floyd took over the final two. And that's why I have no beef in praising the great Floyd Mayweather for his victory, because he did show up in the final two rounds, convincingly. But I do have a beef with those who say that Floyd dominated the entire fight. And I have a beef with the judges' wide margins. By the way, Bob Arum does not represent Miguel Cotto anymore. At least he didn't for that fight. I think his opinion is genuine. I think his scorecard is genuine. Now, I understand that Mayweather and Pacquiao can't lose until they fight each other. And I'm not dumb enough to think that the big money boxing handlers can't control scorecards. I just wonder why the judges didn't let up a bit like they did with Pacquiao's majority decision over Marquez 3. Robert Hoyle, the only judge that was on both of those panels for Pacquiao Marquez and the recent Mayweather Cotto, Robert Hoyle had it 114-114 for Pacquiao Marquez. That was why we had the majority decision. He had it 118-110 for Mayweather Cotto, the widest margin of all the three scorecards. Now that's a complete mystery to me. Remember, just as Marquez was never frustrated with Pacquiao, landed shots, blocked a lot, and his game plan was never thwarted, the same can be said for Cotto, except for the final round or two. Now that brings me to why I'm not upset that Floyd won. Floyd Mayweather did what great champions have to do if there is any modicum of doubt that they will win. Call it the Michael Jordan factor. He took over the fourth quarter. I kept yelling to my dad and another buddy as we watched the fight together, "Cotto, you've got to finish 11-12 strong. If you let up at all, you've got no shot. Don't forfeit the last two rounds. Finish, and we have a fight." If you win both, you could win this fight. Yet Cotto didn't. I think he let those two rounds go. He didn't throw as much while Floyd did. Check this out. I looked at the rounds in terms of volume, and I've paired them up 11-12, 9-10, 7-8. So the last two rounds, Cotto threw 64 punches. The previous couple of rounds, 9 and 10, he threw 74. And going back to 7 and 8, he threw 97. So his numbers go down in these round pairings, 97, 74, 64. He didn't finish. Mayweather, 7 and 8, 95 punches. 9 and 10, 112. 11 and 12, 112. That's why he won. Credit Mayweather's unhuman conditioning and stamina. Credit his heart and his mind as a champion. But also, friends, credit Cotto, whose stock does not fall in this fight. Mayweather himself said he was his toughest challenger. Yet we have those out there with apparent man crushes for Floyd who say that he dominated the fight. Evidently, Floyd didn't think he dominated the fight. Roger's comment in mid-rounds that Cotto is ready to quit is just plain stupid, in my view. There were no signs of quitting in any round from Cotto, even when he got rocked hard in the 12th round, which I scored 10-8 for Floyd. Now, I take that comment by Roger as a piece of pep talk to increase the confidence of your fighter, who wasn't what you typically see out of your fighter. I also don't buy the bit that Floyd gave Cotto the left jab up top. Come on. That shot's open on any orthodox shoulder roll defense. It'll be available for Manny in the form of a straight lead up close. Why did Floyd nod to Miguel out of respect when he got popped by that jab? There's no need to nod if you're giving it up to him. That kind of view is just a Floyd cheerleader mindset. And the bit about Floyd carrying Miguel in the 12th out of respect, I don't think Floyd wants Manny to have knocked down multiple times and eventually knocked out the same opponent, while he can't knock him down once and while he could have finished him off. I just don't buy that. If he could have, he would have. My thing is give Miguel Cotto more props, please. The fight was entertaining, it was competitive, and it was close. A lot of punches were thrown, landed, and blocked by both men. Mayweather showed blood early, Cotto late in round 12. Mayweather did more late, and that is the difference, nothing else. Thanks for listening to this Prizefights podcast. Let me know your thoughts. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at prizefights.us. Until next time, thank you.